For our final work we're going to do with our key tag, we're going to open up that blank key tag again, and this time we're going to work with solid vector graphics, SVG files. When you look at a JPEG, it's a complex image can have multiple colors, depth, all kinds of stuff to it, and a JPEG is what you're used to looking at when you're looking at a photograph online. You'll also see GIFs and other file types that have a lot of depth and color to them. A solid vector graphic, though, is a series of lines and points that are connected together that will allow an image to be created from a series of points. Think of it as nails in a piece of wood and rubber bands holding them together. So each one of those points is called a node, and the lines that are connecting them are going to be scalable, like you can stretch your rubber band. This is the type of graphic you can put into a 3D design that you're going to print. If you have a JPEG image that you want to use, you can use one of the online converters to create an SVG file. And there's also an easy program called GIMP, G-I-M-P, that's available free online that you can use to trace your own SVG files over the top of one. I've already made a graphic that we're going to use today, though. We're going to use the Oglethorpe County High School logo, the little linked OC. Once we get our blank up, I'm going to go over to my menu, choose Import, and I'm going to choose SVG as a sketch. That's going to be a flat, again, two-dimensional file showing the outline and the nodes. If you do it as a solid, that's going to take us to a step that's not going to get us what we want on ours. In some cases, you may want to use it 99% of the time. You're going to use SVG as a sketch. We're going to choose SVG as a sketch and find the one we want. Ours is called OCHS Clean, and I'm going to choose OK. On this next menu choice, I did mine using Adobe Illustrator. You're going to have to experiment with this. If you use an online conversion, then you would want to use coming from other apps. If it doesn't look right the first time, try one of the other ones, and you'll end up with something that makes you happy. I'm going to click on OK. And this is the weird part. It always puts it off here in the weeds. So I'm going to go out here, drag to highlight the whole thing, go to my transform, and I need to move it onto my work surface. Now, it's important that I selected it all first so that I'm moving it as one piece, because a solid vector graphic is going to be a series of points and lines. My Oglethorpe County logo actually has 3 parts to it, so I want to make sure I'm moving all 3 parts at once. I'm going to go back to the top now that I've got it partially moved, and in addition to moving it, I need to rotate it 90 degrees. My move arrows, again, we looked at this earlier, move left and right, up and down, that's the x-axis and y-axis, and I also can rotate. I'm going to grab the rotator and I can move to 90 degrees, or again, I can just type in 90 if I'm trying to get to an exact spot. When I click back on the work surface, you'll see the dots on the corners are actually the vector points, and all of these are just line segments that make up these 3 pieces of our logo. This is just a 2D version of it. See, flat as a pancake. 2D version of our graphic. Now, next thing we need to do is make sure it's the right size. And I can tell just looking at it from here that it's not going to be the right size. So again, I select all, ignore the fact that it looks like a total mess. Go to my transform, and I'm going to choose scale. And I can drag to scale down, and that looks pretty good there. That's 0.57. Actually, it'd come up with 0.5, so I'm going to change it to 0.5 to be exact. Now, it looks a little weird right now, but when you click on the desktop space, it will actually complete the process. Now I'm going to take that object, and I can go back to my transform, and I can move it up and over and sort of see how it looks. Again, I'm looking at the inside, not the outside, and that looks pretty good. Just like with the text, move it off before you continue. Next thing we want to do is extrude our text. And I'm going to zoom in so I can see it. With an SVG file, we've got a series of lines and nodes that are going to create it. This is one piece, this is another, and this is another. There's 3 pieces. So when I extrude this, I need to extrude it 3 times, one for each. So I'm going to click on the first one, go to my pill, extrude, and I want to extrude it 5 millimeters for the same reason I did the text 5 millimeters. I want it to be flush with the surface of the workspace and raise it up to just the level of that outside rim. Next one, same thing, go to my extrude 5 millimeters, and then I've got to get that last piece there, and I'm going to go up 5. Now, I have 2 things here. I have the sketch, that green line that I was working with originally, and now I also have a solid. Solids can be grouped together, so I can drag to highlight all of them, and I can group the selected solids. If I group them together, they're going to work as a single unit. So when I click on it, click back, it should select all of them at once, and that's going to save me from having to reconnect them every time. Notice as I move it up though, the sketch is left behind, and that's okay because we want to work with the solid, not the sketch. That'll be left there. If we change our mind and want to do something different later, it's already on our screen. So now I'll continue to drag, and again, I want to drag our logo only in 2 dimensions. I want to drag it X and Y only. I don't want to go in the 3rd dimension so that it's nice and flat, and I can kind of, I don't know where I want it, I'll tuck it in there. I might actually go back later and make it slightly smaller if I decide that it needs to go in more to make room for my text. Again, it's a good idea, like we did with the other, look at it sideways and make sure that we're flush here and not above on the other. Once we've got that set, I can go to fit, and let's go back to the top. And I now have my logo that was an SVG file, that vector graphic. I extruded it, and it's now on my key tag. I'm going to go ahead and save this as a copy. I'm saving it as a copy because I don't want to ruin my blank that's nice and tidy. And I'm going to call this SVG key tag. Again, log on to your own account, and then you can save it as a project and access it from home or any other computer where you've got the program installed, and also get back to it on a different workstation when you come in another day. Now, if I want to, I can also go ahead and type in my text, do whatever else I wanted to that I've done before. Let's do something different though this time. This text that we've created, I'm going to extrude it again. So this time I'm going to click on it and extrude it again, and I'm going to extrude it 5 again, and same thing each time. 5 and 5. Oops, where did that go? I lost one of them in there. Let's undo that. Back up a little bit. Zoom in on this part. Make sure I get it right. Okay. Undo is your friend. I am going to go to my pill, extrude 5. And next piece, same thing we did before, exact same thing. I'm just reusing that sketch, that's why I didn't want to delete it. And I've now done the same thing, drag to highlight, and I'm going to group this also. While I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and move it up onto, come on little buddy. Try again. I'm going to move this up onto my key tag. Again, you can use the rolly wheel on your mouse to zoom in and out. I'm going to move my logo over this way. Now, this one looks exactly the same as the other one we did. Turn it sideways, we can see that it's there. But this time, let's do something a little bit different. You probably don't want to combine all these things together. But we're going to zoom in, click away from it so that we get our object. And this time, I'm going to click on it again, and I'm going to extrude. And I'm going to extrude in reverse. I'm going to say -6. Click on the next piece, and I'm going to extrude it also. Try again, and pick the piece I want. If I hold down the shift key and click, I can select multiple pieces, and I'm going to choose -5. And I should now have, and that didn't work the way it should have. And let's try that again. Sometimes you gotta try things twice. Extrude, click on what I want, -5. Why is that not extruding? See one more time if that's gonna work. If it's not, that time it worked. Third time's the charm. Click on the last piece, extrude. Didn't need to click on it first. And I should now have a logo that's actually a cutout. Now, where I was trying and trying again and trying again, that's an example of how you just got to be willing. Working. If it didn't work right the first time, look at it closely, try it again, see what's not working right. Control Z, undo, will help you out a lot of the time when you need to figure out what's going on, or if you just didn't do what you thought you could, you can undo back pretty far. Now, clearly for our real life printing job, we don't even want this on our screen. We just, this here is just not necessary. And it was just an experiment. And I may just hit undo multiple times until it's gone. When I'm ready to print this out, I want to drag to highlight the whole thing first. And I want to make sure that I combine it in the same way that I combined before, so that we have all of our objects together, so that when we send it to our STL file, we'll be good to go. If I go to export as STL, if it shows you combine objects, that means some of our files didn't get put together, and I can check combine objects here, click on OK, and I can achieve the same thing. And we're going to call this test STL, because all we want to do is test this and see how it looks. Again, I'm going to start up Cura. I'm going to load my model, and this was called test STL, and I end up with something strange. That's why it told me I hadn't done it right. When I combined the files together, this one was actually left off, and I don't really want it, so I'm going to have to go back and tidy things up just a little. If I zoom out, that wasn't what we wanted. I can just drag and highlight it, kill it off, and now when I go back to my STL file again, combined objects is no longer available because there is only one object. Okay? Double check yourself in Cura before you go on, so that you can catch this kind of thing before you get yourself into trouble. Go ahead, be creative. You can go out and find other SVG files, create your own. Use that GIMP, GIMP.com. We'll let you can probably get it from download.com. GIMP is a great little graphics program that'll let you do things similar to Photoshop. And that's all we've got for today.